Well, hello, hello, hello. All right, guys, so here's what we're doing. If you look, you're going to look at your lessons over here. You're going to write the dates when these things come. Now, we're working on this knowledge check this year, but okay, so what you're going to do is you're doing this unit, this lesson right here. Now, notice these are all review concepts: rounding, order of operations, substitution, fractions, geometry. That's all stuff. If you look through your packet, even though you don't see the numbers, everything there should look familiar. We've added a few things to help you understand that we see that students gain a greater understanding if they do it this way or if they write certain things out. So this is basically a review unit. Good? All right, so let's move to the next page. Actually, you should be on page 9 in your notes. So you've gone through a few pages where we're going to have you do some progress monitoring. How are you doing? What are you doing? And what are you improving on? Okay? All right. So all we're talking about is rounding to the nearest whole number, to the nearest hundredth, nearest tenth, nearest millionth. Okay, so let's just review a few things. I'm going to draw a number line here. Now look, I've talked to you already in class about it. Use color. If you see me using color, you use color. You don't have to use the same colors I am using, but students that are just getting started tend to try to copy and mimic the exact colors I do. Now, I'll be honest with you, the students that do that seem to be more successful. But you're going to eventually pick your own colors that you want to use. Use colors in your notes, okay? It's going to help. Anytime we're rounding, we're talking about what numbers are they closest to. So the things you have to remember is, what does it mean to be a whole number? What does it mean to be a hundredth? What does it mean to be a tenth or a million, right? So if we're talking about a whole number, we have place values. So if we look at this, if we look at these numbers, okay, and actually if we're going to talk about millions, we're going to go over here. Okay, so this is going to be millions. Okay, this is going to be ones. This is going to be a tenth. This is tenths. This is hundredths. This is thousandths. Okay, so 110 looks like this, right? That's 110. 1 just looks like this. 1/10 looks like this. That's 1/10. Okay, 1/100th looks like this. That should just be review. Okay, so when they ask you to round to the nearest, then if they're rounding the nearest whole number, and if your number is like 476.5, and you round the nearest whole number, that means you're going to be either talking about 476, 477, or 475. Now I list 475, but if you draw this out, if you're really struggling with rounding, then you want to draw this out. Because then what we need to think about is then we're talking about 476.5. Well, so let's draw where that would go. So if I draw between 476 and 477, this is going to be 476.5. This is 0.4, this would be 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, but it'd be 476.8 and 0.9, and then it goes to 477. The question is, 476.5, is it closer to 476 or 477? That's what the rounding question is. Which one is it closest to? Now, it just so happens this is exactly in the middle, but if it's exactly in the middle, we're going to round up. If it's anything on this side, then we're going to round down. And if it's any over on this side, it's closer to 477. So we're going to round up. So which one is it closest to? So we would say for this one, we would round to, we would say this is 477. Okay. Now, that's a review of rounding. Let's see what you know how to do. Okay. So, round these just round for this one, example 1 through 6. You do the rounding on those. We'll talk about the mistakes. If you can, go ahead and do 7 and 8. Let's see how you do. So what you're going to do now is you're going to hit pause. You're going to fill these in. You're going to do your rounding. You're going to use a pencil right now. Because if you know what you're doing, there's no reason to do anything else, and you could have this done in 3 minutes. So you're going to round right now, see if you're getting it right. If you're not getting it right, I'm going to write down the correct answers in a minute. When you pull it up, if you're going to check your work. Now at that point, you're going to know either you're doing it right or you made a mistake or you don't know what you're doing. So let's see what happens. Right now, you're going to hit pause. And you're going to do these problems, and you're going to see if you can do them correctly. If you get them right, you're just going to move forward. You're going to fast forward. If you don't do them right, well, you're going to watch the extended video and come to class with questions. Okay, you're going to hit pause now, do these problems, then hit play to see if you got them right. Okay, go. All right, so now check your answers. Hit pause, check your answers, see how you did. Okay, so just to review, if we're rounding this to the nearest whole number, our choices are 477 or 476. I write 475 in there just for those of you that are tempted to round down, but you would never round that far down because we're talking about the two numbers that must be closest to. As we drew out here, it's going to be here between here, 476 and 477. Okay? So if we look at this next one, we're talking about round 8.999 to the nearest hundredth. The hundredth is this place value right here. Okay, so we're either talking about 8.99, the next hundredth place value would be 100. 99 100ths, you add one more 100ths, you're going to get 100 100ths, which is 1. So that means we're rounding up to 9. Remember, the one below it will be 8.98 because we're talking about the hundredths place value. Okay. Okay. If we look at this one down here, 5.619, it says round to the nearest tenth. You have to be careful and read. Tenths means this place value. So if we look, we're talking either about 5.6, 5.7, and we write 5.5, but really that's just so you know that's where they are. We're never going to round down below the 5.6. And we're going to go 5.619. So 5.619 is right here. That's 5.61. 5.62 will be here. So that means it's going to be right in here, which means it's going to be closer to 5.6 than it is 5.7. That's about the gist of that. Okay. Now again, if you're looking at these, if you're looking at what we just did, that's a quick explanation. Come to class with questions if you're still not understanding, and we'll work with you. Okay. I'll do an extended video with these other problems explained. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Okay, so we're going to read through. Now, when you're doing a story problem, if you get it on paper, you want to highlight. This is where you want to highlight what's important. So look at this first problem, example number 8. We'll work on example number 9 in class. Look at example number 8. Okay, you look at example number 8. We're going to round to the nearest cent. Because when we're talking about money, that's what we're talking about. But what we understand and what we see over and over again, you guys aren't quite sure what cent means. Okay, so a cent means how many 100ths. In Spanish, it would be centavos, right? Okay, per cent means how many per 100. Okay, so that's going to be this place value right here. That's what we're concerned with when we're doing cents. So when we look, first of all, let's highlight what it's saying that's important. So it's telling us she wanted to find out what she would earn after working 8.25 hours. She earned $7.25 per hour. After calculating it, she learned that she was going to earn $59.8125. Okay, what's this rounded to the nearest cent? So really, we don't even need to, I mean, you're going to need to know how to understand this, but we don't need to know this right here at all because we're just rounding. That's all they want us to do. That's the number we have to pay attention to. So half of figuring out story problems is realizing what you have to do. The first thing you do is look at the question. You always look at the question first. And when I look at this question, here's the question. The thing that tells me it's the question is that question mark. That right there tells me this is what they want me to do. Always look for the question. Write that down over here on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side. Always look for the question mark. Look for what the question is before you do anything. If I would have read that first, I wouldn't have even had to really read any of this. Because all they want to know is what is she going to earn round to the nearest cent. That's what she's going to earn. So my question is really, if I am making 59.8125, that's how much money I'm making. $59.81.8125. What is that rounded to the nearest cent? Cent means 100th. So you have to remember this is the one, the hundredths place value is right there. The 0.25 is what's left over. If I draw my number line, what I'm saying is I have $59.81 or $59.82. Which one is this closest to? If I look, 59.8125 would be right about here. So is that closest to $59.81 or $59.82? The rule of thumb you learned was you would look at the number afterwards and you're going to round down if it's less than 5. This is the 0.5 because this is the 0.815, right? That's what this would be right here. That's the one that's the middle. As soon as you get to that, you're going to round up. This is to the left of that. It's closer to 59.81 than 59.82. So if you're answering it in complete sentence form and asks you what would this be rounded to the nearest cent, you would say that's going to be $59.81 to the nearest cent. Okay, so we're going to do this one in class. This next one, example 9. So go ahead and hit pause. If you have questions, write them down so when you come to class, you can ask. The last part of this is just this. We're going to be talking about order of operations. Now, you've all learned about PEMDAS, right? But we get frustrated because students don't remember that addition and subtraction are inverses, so they just go left to right. And multiplication and division are inverses. So we found this. And this is what we're going to tell you. You're going to do parentheses. Then this is for exponents. This is multiplication and division. This is add and subtract. If it's on the same, if these two, if you have multiplication and division and they're left to right of each other, like if you have 5 times 20 or 20 divided by 5, and if you had, let's say you did divided by 4, and you said this was going to be times 3, you would go left to right because they're inverses of each other. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in class. You just need to write that down right now. You are now done with your notes. This is it. So hopefully you wrote down questions. When you look at what you did you have any questions? Hey, if you want to try this one, you want to do it and then come to class with it completed, that's great. If you want to do these, go ahead. You know the answers. If you don't understand, we're going to find out when we do tickets tomorrow on the next day in class. We're going to find out when you don't do well on the quiz. But let's see what you can do. Okay? We're going to explain some of these in class. If you have questions, we expect you to ask them in class. Okay, good luck. Have a good day.